In order to get your online booking system working, you need to set up your booking config, and this will show exactly what appointments you want to show available online. So to do that, you can go to Tools and Booking Config, and it will pull up a window like this. So you can see you've got every day of the week listed over here, and what we're going to do for every day of the week is you're going to add in exactly what appointments you want available and bookable on those days at what times. So the first thing I would do is I would go to your settings and defaults, and I would add in first of all your appointment categories, so whether that's first bridal, second bridal appointment, prom, bridesmaid, fittings, all of those. I'd go get all of those set up. Within each booking type, you can then set which ones you want to be visible online, so you can set them to be public or not. If they're public, it means they'll be showing online, and that means your customers can see them and choose them from the drop-down menu to then go ahead and try book them. If you don't set them to public, so for example like fittings, a lot of people don't set to public, it means that your customers won't see them online, and that's something that you would handle in-house that you could book yourself manually. So normally fittings or collections, people will book those themselves. Second thing that you need to set up in your defaults as well is your groups. So you can see the appointment groups here. I've got changing room 1 and 2. So these are used to organise your diary and your appointments. So as you can see, I've done them as changing rooms, and they commonly are used as fitting rooms. So whether you've got 1 fitting room, 2 fitting room, 3 fitting rooms, I would go in and add them as appointment groups. So you can do those in settings and defaults, or you can just click this plus button there, which allows you to add new ones. Even if you are just like a one-man band and you only ever have one bride in your boutique at once, you still want to add in at least one appointment group. So I would just call it like the name of your boutique, or changing room 1, fitting room 1, whatever you want to name it, just because that then allows you to add what appointments you want bookable into that room. So I'm going to go ahead and have it so that on a Monday we can have changing room 1 and 2 open like this. And then what we want to do is we want to select for each of these fitting rooms what appointments we want bookable in each. So I'm going to have changing room 1, I can have bridal appointments booked into, and changing room 2, we could have bridesmaid or prom appointments booked into. So to add it, you just want to click onto the diary over here. It then allows you to choose which appointment category you want to be bookable. So I'm going to go first bridal appointments, and you can then choose the start and the end time. So I'm going to set mine as bookable. We'll say let's go from 9 o'clock until, let's go 5 o'clock. And you can then set the appointment interval. So you can see that mine is set to 30 minutes at the moment, which means that appointments will show on the half hour online. So 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30. This little available times bit over here you can always use because it will tell you literally what times will show available online. When it shows as available online, it won't show as like 9 till 11, it will just show like 9 o'clock, 9:30, but this is more for your reference just because it makes it really nice and clear, and you can see kind of what you're setting up over here. So you could change that interval. I could change it so it's actually every hour, not every half an hour, which means the appointment will show on the hour. So we've got 9, 10, 11. So even though my appointments are 2 hours long, they could still book an appointment at 10 o'clock. So it would be 10 until 12 instead of like 9 till 11. You also can add it in so there's a gap on the appointment. So I'm going to put the interval back to 30 minutes. To 30. So say you actually wanted this bookable 9 till 5, 30-minute interval, and then you could say I actually want a half-hour gap between any appointments that are booked, and that then means that, say the bride booked the 9:30 appointment, 9:30 until 11:30, the system then wouldn't show availability again until 12 o'clock because you have that 30-minute gap after the appointment is finished as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create, which you can see will add in this block of appointments over here. We're then going to go ahead and do the same thing for changing room 2. So I'm going to go, we'll say this is going to be a bridesmaid appointment. So I'm going to do, again, let's just leave that at 10 o'clock actually. So we'll do 10 until 5 o'clock availability. Create, which then adds in the appointment block down here. And what you can actually do as well is you can just copy it. So instead of having to click each time, you can go ahead and click the copy button, and that saves all these settings here. So we've still got 10 till 5 with 30-minute interval. And this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select prom appointments and create. So you can see it's added in changing room 1, I've got first bridal, changing room 2, I've got bridesmaid and prom. So it then populates the diary for that day. So those are go ahead, and those are now added for Monday, which you can see has gone green because we've now added appointment availability for those days. Now we've added it so that you don't have to do this for every single day of the week. We appreciate it can be quite time consuming adding them in. So what you can actually do is you can click the copy button. You can either copy the day or you can copy just the settings. So the day will bring across your config to all of the other days in the diary. So I'm going to do day in settings. We'll talk about settings slightly later as well. If you click the copy button here, you can then select the day that you want to copy it to. So I actually am going to go ahead and we're going to copy this to, let's say, Tuesday we'll do differently. So let's do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'll have Sunday closed. So I can then copy them. It also gives you the option to copy to a custom. Custom configs are if you want to set like a one-off availability. So if you have like, let's say, a sample weekend or a trunk show where your availability isn't your standard weekly availability, this is going to be like a one-off. You can still copy these existing kind of appointment blocks and settings over to that custom, and then you can edit it from there. But for now, we're just going to copy this to other days of the week. So copy, and you can come back up here, and we can now see that on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, I've got the same thing in place. So Tuesday, I said I'm going to do slightly differently. So Tuesday, I was going to select, and we will go ahead and we're going to add in we're going to add actual appointment slots in for Tuesdays. So to do that, you want to do exactly the same thing. You click on to add the appointment. So let's say we're doing a bridal appointment, but this time, instead of running it like 9 till 5, I'm going to literally run this slot. I want a slot at 9 till 11. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to copy that again, and I'm going to do another bridal appointment, and this time I'm going to do a slot between, let's say, 11:30 and 3:30. Let's go, 1:30, not 3:30, 11:30 and 1:30. Copy that again. This time I'm going to do, we'll do 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock. So this is useful if you just want that structure. So if you just have set slots that you like brides booked in at, you can literally add them like this. And it means that it's only those exact slots that will be bookable. There's no variation. It's not like they could book at 9 or 9:30. It's literally 9 o'clock, 11:30 or 2 o'clock, and it's set just like that. This is also good if you've got like more of an irregular pattern. So it might be that you do 9, 11:30 2 o'clock, then you close for a bit, you go pick the kids up from school, and then you have another block at, let's say, 6 o'clock. So we could do 6 till 8, and we could add another appointment down here. So it allows you to add those gaps in the diary. Maybe you want lunch, or maybe you are closed in that time. So you can add it like so. So once you've added in, and you've added in exactly what appointments you want to be available, you want to do that for every single day of the week. And my Sunday, I'm going to say that I'm closed in the boutique. So if you're closed, you literally just want to come down to the availability section down here, and you want to set that as closed. This will then mean that when people go on to use your online booking system, it will say that the store is closed on those days. So from here, the next thing that you want to do is then set up how you're going to set your availability. So you can see, obviously, when you're closed, it will be set as closed, that's fine. And then you have 2 other options. You've got the default and you've got rota. So when we first built My Bridal, we built it to run by the default method. And this just means that you add in exactly what availability you want in each room at any given time. So I've got mine set up so I can see one bride in changing room 1, so that's one person in that room at once. I can see one person in this room at once, and down here I can see one person in the whole boutique at once. So this just means that at any time I could have a person booked into this changing room or this changing room, and it could be either one of those appointment types, but there will only ever be one person booked into the boutique at once. This method works fine if you are a smaller boutique, or if you run your boutique strictly by the rooms. So for example, even if I increase my availability down here, that would mean I could have a bride in this room, a customer in this room as well, because I can have 2 across the full store, but I can only ever have 1 in each room at once. And that would therefore suggest that you have 2 staff members available. If then, say, one staff member was off, you could then go ahead and you could add a block into your diary for changing room 2, which would close off changing room 2 completely. But that then left a bit of an issue, because if you didn't want to block off one of your changing rooms completely, you only had 1 staff member available, but they could see either a bridal appointment or a bridesmaid or a prom, it meant that the booking config wasn't working exactly how it should be. So we added in the option as well over here to use the availability by rota. So in order for this to work, you would need to set up your work schedule over here. So you go to staff and work schedule. That then allows you to add in exactly what appointments you want available. So if I come onto here, you can see it gives you would have to generate all of your shifts. So you would generate your shift for the next month, the next 2 months, 3 months, and the booking system would then pull from the rota the availability of staff for that day. So like Friday the 25th, I would have Emma in, Jess in, and Daisy in at those different times, and that would then be used on the booking system to generate the availability for that date exactly. So if I came over here and I wanted to use the rota, you just come down here and you select the rota option. And you do this for every day of the week. You would want to set up the same settings. So I've used the rota option down here. You then can further go in and do more settings on the rota. So you can actually do the different changing rooms. So we could have it set up that it gives you the option to say how many appointments at one time per staff for the group. So sometimes prom, for example, you might actually be able to take 2 appointments at once. So that means that there could be 1 staff member available on the rota, but you could increase that, which means they could actually see 2 people in that changing room at once. Most people would have that set to 1. You also can have it set so you can have more than 1 staff member available in each room at once. So again, prom is quite frequently where this is used, but possibly like bridesmaids, or if you have like a sale store or something, you might have more than 1 staff available to see more than 1 bride in the changing room at once. So again, you could increase that. So you could increase that to 2, which would be 2 members of staff available in each changing room at one time. But again, normally most people would have that set to be 1 staff member in a room at once, and 1 staff member can see 1 customer at once as well. So that would then allow for, you could have, based on your rota, it would then allow you to book in 1 customer at once with 1 staff member at any given time. So you would just want to go ahead and select rota, and you would do that for every day of the week if that's how you wanted to work it, or go ahead and you can select the default settings, and from there you would just set up that you want to be able to have 1 appointment in this fitting room at once and 1 appointment in the whole store at once. We also have a few more settings on here, which I'm just going to walk you through. So for example, on here we have available times, and at the minute it's using defaults, and that just means that any time that is available will show online as available. So you can actually deselect this, and that will then allow you to restrict how many appointments are available. So like this first bridal appointment, this block over here, this will show a lot of different appointments available. We had like 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, all throughout the day. And maybe you don't want to show as many as that, maybe you want to restrict it. So you could have it, for example, so it only showed the first 3 appointments, and you can have it from the morning. So that means that your diary opens up in order, so that brides would be able to see like 9, 9:30, 10, and then once the 9 o'clock gets booked, they could then it would then open up the next one at 11 o'clock. So it means that you're not getting an appointment at 9 o'clock and then 5 o'clock. It means that the appointments stack in order. So you can do that from the morning or from the afternoon. And it also restricts how many appointment show is available. So some people don't like too many to show online, just in case it's overwhelming and they don't want brides to think that they're really quiet, so there's loads of appointments available. So you can restrict how many show by setting that up down there. And the second thing you can set up down here is the bookable window. So the booking window shows when you want appointments to show available from and to. So this is used quite commonly. So the defaults will just show appointments as available infinitely into the future, and it will show them right up until appointment time. People can book them online. If you want to restrict that, you can undo that here, and you can undo the from and to. So we can undo from and to. So I could say I want my appointments to be bookable from, I'm going to say 6 months in advance, and I want them bookable to 24 hours before the appointment. And it will say down here, so appointments can be booked from 6 months in advance up until 24 hours before the chosen appointment date and time. Also can have a hard start from date or a hard end date. So this is quite useful if you're just opening up, if you're opening up your diary and you're a new boutique and you don't actually open until a certain date. So I could have my appointments bookable from the 1st of November. So from 1st of November, they will then start showing as available, or you could have max 2 as well. So again, if you're closing and you want to set an end date on them, you could add that into there as well. Once you've set up your bookable window, you'd need to make sure that that is set up for every single day of the week. So you'd have to have that set Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, that's something that you can copy, just the settings. So once you've done that, you can copy the settings. So I could do copy settings, and I could set those the same for every day. And we'll copy those across. You also can click on an appointment type, and you can also set a bookable window for that appointment type as well. So again, we've had circumstances where a particular appointment type, for example, bridesmaids, like somebody is stopping selling bridesmaids dresses, so they've got a hard end date on that. So that would allow you to set up a bookable window just for that one appointment type. So you could have that appointment type is bookable until the 30th of November, and then that's going to finish. So appointments can be booked anytime in advance until the 30th of November. So that then brings it down to the appointment level. And again, that might be like if you have like an evening appointment that you're going to stop doing, you can have it bookable until a certain date, and then it will stop being bookable. So yeah, you can either restrict your full diary, or you can do it specifically per an appointment type as well. When you think you're happy with how you've set things up, or if you just want to check if things have been set up correctly, you can use this preview button up here. So far I've done my Monday and my Tuesday. So Monday I've got first bridal, bridesmaid or prom, and Tuesday I've got first bridal appointments booked in. I'm going to click the preview button and I want to look at my availability for my first bridal appointments. So I'm going to choose first bridal, and we will then be able to look on here and we can be able to see what we've got available. So I've got showing on the 28th, Monday the 28th. You can see here I've got 11 available slots to book. So I did it so it was bookable throughout the day. So we had 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, and I've got 2 unavailable. If you click on the unavailable and hover over, it'll tell you why. So I've already got a diary block in the diary, which is why they're showing as unavailable. You'll also be able to look at the rota and you can see what staff members are working that day if that's a feature that you used. You can go into apps, which will show you any apps that have been booked, and it will show you any diary blocks in place for that day as well. So I've got one in between 4 and 6 o'clock. You also can click diary, which then allows you to have a look at the diary for that day, so you can see this staff meeting that I was talking about, that's been booked in there. We can then go to look at a Tuesday as well. So Tuesdays are set up slightly differently. So let's look at this Tuesday, the 5th of November. And you can see on here, I've got the 4 slots available. On Tuesdays, I had it set so the appointments were added in the exact time slots that they're available. So you can see them added here at 9 o'clock, 11:30, 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. You can see on the rota for that day, there's just one staff member that's working. Again, that's if you want to use the rota, you don't have to. You can see appointments, nothing's been booked in that day. No diary blocks that day, and that means my diary should be clear, so you can come and check it over here. So it's just useful for you to check that the right availability is set up based on what you think you've set up. That covers all of the settings that are in the general booking config. So the aim is that you want to set up every day of the week, and this is just your standard week of appointments that are available. You also can set up the booking system so you can do custom days over here, which allows you to do one-off days for like sample sales or trunk shows, anything like that, where you might not have first bridal appointments available and you might want sale appointments available instead, or trunk show appointment, but I'm going to talk about that in a different video.